I might twitch a little bit. I might shake a little bit. I never really know what's going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah, let me just kind of tune in and quiet down and get in the moment. Let me just start by saying thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Not just to you, Julie, not just to your audience who's listening, but to the universe, to everything, to the light, to the sound waves, to the material world, to the non-physical, metaphysical world, to everything.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Ask Julie Ryan Show. It's where we blend spirituality and practicality to help you live a life of purpose and joy. We have Jeff with us on the show today. Jeff is a channeler who works with energy perception using a technique he calls slipstreaming. I'm going to be asking him what slipstreaming is, how it works, and how it can help us navigate our everyday lives with more clarity, joy, and ease. Please remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with your family and friends. Now, let's go chat with Jeff. Jeff, welcome to the show. I'm so thrilled you could join us today.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Oh, well, I think this is going to be fun. I got lots of questions for you, sir. And the first one is, you call yourself a spiritual escape artist. What the heck
Yes.
does that mean?
Well, it's from a lifetime of obsession and curiosity into the nature of reality, the very thing that we're experiencing every day, what it means to have a mind, what it means to be living life as a human, and how it all fits together, the intricacies and mechanics and spirit, all of these things and how they all blend together has been an obsession with me for as long as I can remember, from being a kid and laying in bed and staring at the ceiling and wondering what this all was. I have just had a natural inclination to understanding it. And then I proceeded to have a lot of amazing life experiences that opened me up to the inner workings of how everything fit together. At a very early age, I experienced total oneness, seeing everything meshed together, woven together in pure light, from everyone I'd ever known to all my memories to everything I was looking at. It all just was this eternally laid out, perfect running machine, mechanism, organism, just blossoming in front of me. And ever since that point, at that young age, I knew I was meant for something more. And come about 20 years later, I finally stepped away from working regular jobs for other people and other people's visions. And I started to put my vision to pen and pad and to camera and express my message while also inviting others in to help them find their harmony and peace, joy, passion, love, whatever it may be, whatever you may be seeking. And so, yeah, I've created a platform, not just where I can make videos and enjoy podcasts such as yours, but also help people one on one and get more intimate.
Okay, so that's a lot to unpack. Tell us more
Yes.
about when you felt total oneness. How old were you again when that happened? You said you were little.
Yeah, I was 20 was when the big, like, eye-opening experience happened,
Uh-huh.
but it was about a year coming on to that where I experienced just little connections, epiphanies, and they seemed to happen sequentially, kind of leading up to this extreme event. Um, and to give you a frame of reference, I'm 40 now, so, um, I was still young, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And from that point on, I was like, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to be a shaman or something? I can definitely see more of what's going on here. And then that led to seeking out teachers and pursuing a more of a hobby at the time because I didn't know where to go or who to see. I mean, I was raised Christian and I went to Christian private schools, but none of that really helped me understand what I was experiencing, like viscerally, like direct experience with the world around me. And so, yeah, that's kind of where it led.
Do you think there was any significance to the age of 20 or 21 when all of that started to really kick in for you?
I would say so. It was a big part of in terms of human development. I was still learning who I was, and who am I? How do I fit in? And then also, I was a rebellious sort. At that age, I was kind of a punk. Seriously, I went to punk shows and would go to parties, and just I was repelled by authority and large institutions, institutionalized spirituality or education and things like that. They just rubbed me the wrong way because it just didn't mesh with what I was experiencing and what I was learning from what I later learned to be like my guides and
Mhm.
spirit.
Yeah, interesting. I wanna touch on that here in a little bit. In the meantime, what's slipstreaming?
So in my journey of spirituality and uncovering, I would say, the spirit world around me, I opened up a lot of latent abilities that really came into play later in my 20s. So I picked up meditation, I picked up yoga. I started playing with energy balls quite literally in my backyard. And this is just stuff I would do on my own because I felt like it was what I needed to do. It was some
What's
kind of a
what's an energy ball?
I mean, like playing with chi, like feeling the energy around your hands and then visualizing it. And I was just compelled to do this. I Nobody taught me to do this. I didn't even read about it or see it anywhere. Maybe I kind of had a fantasy about being a superhero or something like that, but it just came to me like a vision, like start looking and working with energy. And so I would breathe in light and then I would expand it out. And that became, and what has led to, what I would call my spiritual practice, which is like a combination of clearing my mind, meditating, and really getting up close and personal with my inner being, my soul, my higher self. And letting it work through me. And I took Reiki classes. I took other kind of like ESP classes, one called Theta Healing, and a couple of others. And that was validating for what I was experiencing. I remember I picked up a chakra book and then I started associating color, like, oh, let's go red. And then I would see red and I would get so into it. I would feel lava dripping through my fingers and I would associate that with imbuing energy into my root chakra. And then I would travel up the column of energy as we term the chakras. And then I would see energy on other people and witness it on other people. But something magnificent started happening, something that was honestly kind of terrifying at first. I would get into meditation and then my body would just start shaking. Like my hand would just start kind of like jumping up and down in my lap, like, what is going on here? My leg would start twitching. And then my eyes would roll in the back of my head. And it felt like this beam of light would come right down to the top of my head. And I would accept a download. And I would get huge swaths of information about the structure of the universe, how the mind works, how the planet works. I could see into the distant future, into the distant past, and see it all intertwined into this like perfect moment that I was receiving this great energy. And at first, it was like I was having seizures almost. I kind of terrified my friends and family who did not know what was going on. It looked quite unnatural, but it couldn't be further from the truth. It felt more natural to me than anything anyone outside, was teaching me. Talking about institutions again, it was coming to me from what I thought was a higher source. Now, fast forward, slipstreaming. So through years, about 15 years of doing this kind of channeling, working and playing with energy, seeing and perceiving energy with other people, corroborated by an entire room of people seeing the same beings of light in the room, or experiencing the same kind of energies, or seeing a spirit animal like a blue elk walking into the room and everyone sees it at the same time that I do. These kind of validations were very consistent throughout my entire life. But when I decided I wanted to take this on my own and become a channeler, um, I had kind of scruples with that term because it carries a lot of baggage in the new age world, and as it stands today, I felt like, at least the way it was being presented, um, and not to put down anyone that is a channeler or claims to be a channeler, I think it's necessary and important for certain people on their paths that they find it and they find it in that way. For example, somebody who proclaims that they're channeling like Arcturians or something, or Pleiadians, or what have you, right? Um, Now, there's nothing wrong with that, and the information's good, and the people that are on that path that need to experience that information, beautiful. It's absolutely lovely. But what I recognized was that I was actually stepping outside of even the confines of terming it as channeling from some outside entity, because it implies that it's something you can't do, or something that only the chosen few can do. And it couldn't be further from that. It's accessible to everyone, and everyone does it in one way or another, whether you're a writer or an artist, or a medical intuitive, or what have you. You're doing some form of channeling. It's when you become fully immersed into the moment. You're no longer postulating ideas and thoughts that could get in your way or hamper you from being in the moment. It feels ecstatic, exciting. It feels like you're in flow with the universe, like you're fully connected, tuned in, and turned on. And we all experience that in our own special way. And I believe that is a signal coming from the universe, coming from spirit, that you are where you're supposed to be exactly. And so I rebranded channeling for myself and what I do for others as slipstreaming, because I know I can say that I am channeling source, as I'm sure you've heard, but I'm pointing at source not as though it's something that's like way above your crown chakra, or the central sun of the universe or something like that. I'm pointing at that and saying, no, it's right here. It's right between you and me. It's where we're having this experience. It's right here, right now. And I am pointing at that as though it's an actual point, like a point that exists in distinction from the present. So the now is like the apex of the present, if that makes sense. And ultimately, as I see these things like finding liberation and freedom, enlightenment, healing, and getting over the blockages of the mind, is the same as arriving here in the now and setting everything else down and letting everything be okay. And that's like the destination, if you will. If there was a destination, it's to arrive right here, right now. So I call it slipstreaming, kind of like if you're familiar with racing, or the way that birds fly in V formation, that you'll have one bird in front, or the lead car, and they are removing the drag from the birds in the back, and then they switch places.
Yeah.
They switch places. One's not any better than the other. They just assist each other so that they don't have to fly so hard. And it gives you a little boost to speed because you have less resistance. So I create a space of no resistance, get into what we would call the channeled state, and then open up into questions.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds and,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
those elite, military pilots that are flying in
Yeah.
formation, and it's always patterned after the birds, isn't it? Always.
Nature shows us. Nature
Nature
shows us.
shows us
Yeah.
exactly. You say channeling's a conversation with your own soul's frequency. What do you mean by that?
Um, I would say channeling is like allowing my body to become the instrument or the conductor. And it's like my body just, or my thinking mind, my persona, my identity, and how I think it should sound, and all of the ways that I think that you should hear it. So all of those like passing thoughts that come through when I'm about to say a thing are no longer necessary, and my body is now available to fully flow the energy as it sees fit. So with me, it's not just vocal. It's very full bodied. It's nonverbal too. I mean, it's my hand movements, it's my body movements. Sometimes I'll get up and walk around. It's like a dance, and it is like dancing. Like to me, dancing too is just like channeling. When you get fully tuned into the music and your body is moving like a tree moves in the wind, like how nature is flowing on its own without anyone having to think about it or think about what it should do. It just knows what to do. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah, you're one with the rhythm almost.
Yeah, just one with the rhythm,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I think there's a song about that.
Yeah, probably a
I
lot.
think there yeah, I can hear it in my head, but I can't get all the lyrics for it. When you were doing this oneness and you realized that, did you share that with your family? Do you come from a spiritual family? You said you were raised in Christian schools and like in a
Well,
Christian home. How did your family take that? And do you think that what you learned in your family unit helped prepare you for what you're doing now?
great question. So I would say they weren't prepared. They were a little, especially my mom was a little rattled by the whole thing. But that's because a lot of what came with that. It wasn't just me, coming out and saying, "Oh, I've had this spiritual awakening." It was also, and this was very important, I had to come out with the truth of who I was and all the things I was doing. Like I was saying, I was a bit of a punk, and in some cases a delinquent. I was skipping school and going and partying, and was very, I mean, embarrassed about what I had done. I mean, and I told him everything. I had told him that I had been drinking, and that I didn't care about school at the time, and I just kind of dropped the bomb on my parents. Everything that I had been holding back or hiding from them in my teenage years. And so it was coupled with that, but I felt like it was absolutely important because I sought the truth. And I knew that if I was going to find the truth, and actually like integrate with it, like make it a part of my life, that I had to unload. I had to unload everything I was holding back, because especially with my parents. And this does point to how much they've really helped me along the way. Now, they both came from different religious backgrounds, and they separated when I was only 2 years old. So I
Oh,
lived in a split household. My mom grew up kind of a little bit of everything, like a little bit of Methodist, a little bit of Protestant. She was an army brat, so she moved all over the place, and really that her parents would take her to whatever church was available. And then she got into more of the AA and kind of like how they take Christianity. And I can't remember the denominations. And my dad was raised Lutheran on his side, and they wanted me to have a little bit higher education. So they sent me to private school and thought that I needed to experience, going to mass and going to church and those kind of things, because they weren't really doing it anymore. They didn't know what to think, but they were okay with me figuring it out on my own. So I really give them a lot of credit. They let me be me, and they didn't force me to believe in any, indoctrination of any kind. They just kind of let me be me. And to some degree, they were kind of hippies growing up too. So they were, kind of seeking themselves too. And fast forward, actually, they both had spiritual awakenings right before my very eyes. But that's another story. Um, so they provided me a space. They provided me with love and respect to explore those realms instead of telling me that it was all in my imagination, like if I'd see lights in the room, or that I was crazy, like when I had those initial awakenings. They were very loving, though rather jarred when I came to them and told them all these things.
They were starting to wonder if you'd been raised by wolves.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
"Who are you and what have you done with our son?" kind of a thing?
Yeah, as you know, I love that you said that actually because one of my first like really huge experiences was um, finding a wolf, like seeing a spirit wolf. I had somebody tell me that my spirit animal was a wolf, and then I witnessed one in my inner vision, and then like 2 days later, actually met a live wolf. And it was huge, towered over me. Coincidentally enough, before I was born, my dad and my mom, when they were still together, worked on a wolf sanctuary and actually rescued wolves and fed them and took care of them in Montana. And so there is just a strong wolf nature about my upbringing, and it's just a symbol that pops up time and time again for me.
I must be psychic or something.
Well,
Look at
maybe.
that. Yeah, maybe. Well, and the wolf is such a profound spirit animal, and I'm not remembering off the top of my head what the wolf symbolizes. Do you know off the top of your head? Can you remember?
Family, pack pack mentality, pack leadership qualities, the ability to like see ahead,
See in the
see,
dark.
see in the dark and know what's going on, like high awareness, high alertness, all those kind of qualities meshed together. Um, yeah, which really suits me.
Let's change directions for a minute. What's mysticism and how can it help us?
When I think of mysticism, I think of probably the root word mystery. And I think it's important. It's very healthy. It's important to suspend your disbelief or suspend your belief, I guess, in the language that we're using, and recognize that there is a lot going on that we do not know, that we cannot logically put together with our minds and understand, that science cannot know, that
Right.
even religion can't know, that we just can't know, no, not in a sense of understanding it logically.
Are we
That there
supposed to know though, do you think?
Now, okay, so I'm going to make a distinction here that there are this dualistic aspects. So two aspects that each of us have. And I like to point at this. It's been pointed at as many things. You have like the animus and the anima, or the masculine and the female, the mom and the dad. Um, I think of those as the mind and the heart. That the heart is, in that sense, the more feminine aspect. It's feeling, it's sensation, it's what's experiencing your life. It's really where you begin. It's who you really, really, truly are. And then we have our mind, and our mind is limiting. So where our heart is unlimited and opens into a limitless field that could go on forever. Um, our mind brings things into an image, brings things into something finite. It's what's doing the identification. It's what is associated with the ego. It's what's putting everything in its place and organizing everything. Now, they have to work in tandem. So the mind can only think and work with images and work with moment by moment thoughts and ideas. But it can't take in the whole thing at once, but the heart can. And when you get into spirituality, you get into the intuition. The intuition is this inner knowing, and it can know. It can totally know. It can know God. It can know love. It can know light. It can know what another person is going through. It can know what's going on in the room before you even talk to anyone. It just knows. That's the knowing. So the heart can know, but the mind can only think it knows. It doesn't really know. And we live in a society where the mind has really held the crown as being the authority or the executive in every situation across our society. And it's kind of put the heart, in a box and in meaning to protect it with good reason. It's been hurt, It's been hurt, it's been bad relationships and so on and so forth. And that's where we hold our most precious everything, our love, our heart, our soul. I mean, it means everything to us. So with good reason, we protect ourselves from it. But what it does is it creates discordance in that relationship. And so the mind thinks it knows better and will shut the intuition up, and then it will get hurt, and suffering persists because this relationship isn't meshing. So that's kind of like the long short, to make that distinction, that the heart can know, but the mind can only think. The mind can only process patterns and ideas, and it works within a finite space, but the heart is unlimited.
Where does imagination come into play? Is that part of the heart section or more of the mind section or a joiner of the 2, like
Yeah,
a
joiner of the
yeah,
two,
joiner of the
absolutely.
2, yeah.
It's accessing our an unlimited aspect that we all have, and really there's no limit to it. As we say, only to the limits of your imagination, which there is none. And you could really experience and visualize anything through your imagination. I mean, there's pick a place, pick a spot, go there. You can take yourself there, and the more you practice with it, the more you begin to blend that relationship in that space. But again, we also live in a time, or have lived in a time, I should say, where playing in your imagination and fantasizing is kind of looked down upon. That's it's a flight of imagination. Get out of your head, yada yada yada. There's we got to pay taxes. We need to get this work done, yada yada yada. Like that kind of mentality kind of shuts down that more intuitively felt experience of where the mind can take you. That no, it has to be like rigidly packed into this way of thinking, this school of thought. Like this is how you. But I mean, even the greats like Albert Einstein got his theory of relativity and these things that have completely changed the world in a dream. It came to him. And the same thing everybody has access to. But when we spend all our days shutting down our dreams, settling for a life that we try to feel comfortable in, avoiding pain and trying to pay the bills, and basically forgetting what our dreams were, forgetting what we wanted to do when we were a kid. And when we do that, it creates a disconnect between our own imagination and the possibilities of where it can go. And so we're not our whole self anymore. We're not our whole true self. We're an idea, an image of what we think we're supposed to be based on what everyone else's image is of us and of themselves.
I find that spirit uses imagination a lot. I have found that it's an integral part of the work that I do, and is when somebody's talking about, "Well, I I wanna move and I want a new career and all of that," and by when, and I say, "Just let it flow," because if you can do that, and it's easier said than done, I'll give you that, but what can unfold can be so far beyond what our imagination can envision, especially when we're looking at it just from a human perspective, because we only have our own frame of reference. And that's how new songs get done and new inventions are made and things like that. People aren't deciding those things based on what's already out there. They're using their imagination to envision new things. And
Right.
whether that be, how are you going to set up for a party, or where are you gonna go, or how are you gonna get to work, or what are you gonna wear to a dinner, or whatever, that's all imagination, and I believe it goes hand in hand with spirit. Back to the
Agreed.
opening the mind versus the heart. When people have their hearts closed off, do you think that that's contributing to people who are hesitant to dip their toes into channeling because they're afraid bad things will happen, or they're afraid that they'll see things that they don't wanna see?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a protection mechanism, this thing we call fear. And the reason that people get into these situations is because fear takes on a life of its own and starts dictating motivation, dictating drive. So it becomes the authority, the authoritative energy, if you will, rather than the heart and what the heart wants and what the heart's seeking, what the heart thirsts for and hungers for. That's set aside, saying, no, you can't have that. You can't come out and play because it's dangerous out there. And when looking at something like channeling, yeah, and it's part of the reason why I kind of rebranded the way that I speak of channeling, because it's hard to take everybody and redefine that word for them. Like, what does that really mean, right? And when they hear that word, their mind immediately goes to somebody speaking for spirits that are coming through, or somebody speaking in tongues, and it looks kind of weird. It looks kind of strange, and right off the cuff, they're like, "Not for me." Um, and you know rightly so, there's charlatans out there, and there's people that are tapping into darker side things, and so they have reason and things to see there that could give them reason to be afraid of that. But what they're looking past is the actual content, the actual good, useful, practical information that can come through. And of course, it means trusting yourself, trusting your own heart. And you could say, in the sense, that fear is like the polar opposite of trust. Trust is opening up and allowing, where fear is blocking off and repelling and pushing away and sequestering and hiding. So when fear rules the mind, because of, I mean, typically it initiates as protection, right? We grow up with trauma. We're going to be a little bit more afraid to open our hearts and show people who we really are, because it's been thrown back in our face and we've been hurt. Um, so in terms of channeling, that's what I would say is, I mean, it's really very natural. It's very normal. It can look, albeit strange. I know it was strange for me when I first experienced it and the things that I was experiencing. But on a fundamental level, the way that I saw the world was transforming. And, things like time and our identity as our human lives becomes just like a little minutia, a little fragment of what's all really going on. That really, there is no such thing as time, that we are all part of this great blossoming supreme consciousness that's existed before time. And we are all on the trek back to that within. And that actually it's all right here, right now, but we're pulled away from it because we think we have to fix something, or we think we're not good enough to have the gift that's right before us.
I find also that when we're in fear, our clarity is dramatically diminished in how we perceive things, and we perceive things from a not only less than optimal, but oftentimes from a state that's just not true. We're just dreaming up all this bad stuff that's happening, and it's like, "What planet are you on? That's not what's happening at all." But our brains and I believe there's a physiological thing happening because the blood drains from our brain, goes to our heart and our extremities so we can run away from the
Hmm.
fear, even
Hmm.
if the
The fight
fear
or
is
flight is initiating. Yeah.
yeah, and it's a physical response. The stress hormones go up, and the body doesn't know the difference between real fear and fake fear. So the
It doesn't.
body's going to react the same if you're being chased by one of your wolf buddies or if you're running late for an appointment. It's the body's going to react the same way, and we're not thinking clearly. And then that affects where we go from there. What do you say to people who are always comparing themselves to someone that they believe is more enlightened. And when they say, "Oh, I can't do that. I can never do that. I don't know how Jeff does that. I just could never be like Jeff." But I appreciate Jeff's skill sets. What do you say to people like that?
So again, it ties into these beliefs, these fundamental beliefs that people carry around, that they're just not good enough, that there's something wrong with them, that they it's all a measure of self-worth, of one's value. So what I say to them is, there's nothing more valuable than you. in your life. There really isn't. That is the most precious thing that you could offer to anyone is you, is your attention, is your time. Those are all coinciding as the same thing. Your attention is your time. And where you place that attention grows. It's like a conduit of loving energy. Wherever that attention goes and however it's shaped to go there, whether it's on negative ideas or positive things or cleaning your own room or going to the gym or whatever it may be, where you put your attention grows and is filled with energy. And to recognize that that's really the most precious thing that any of us have. If you're talking about me, then you're seeing the sum amount of where I've put my attention through the years to get where I am right now. But that doesn't mean that you're any less capable, skilled, valuable than I am. It's all a matter of what are you going to do next? Right now is new. It's fresh. It's always next. There's always a clean slate right before our very nose that is ready for us to do something, to take on something new, to open up to a new opportunity, to shift our attention to a new horizon and then go there. And wherever you're looking, you'll start going. I don't know if you've ever ridden a bike, or if you've been running on a treadmill or running in general. If you look off to the left and you keep going, you'll hit the side of the treadmill. You'll Where you're looking is where you're going. And it's the same for everybody. And we're all to the same degree of potency and impact and influence in this life, in your life. No one else can be you. Nobody. I can't be you, just as you can't be me. And therefore, we live in our own respective universe in that sense. But when we're together, we share it. We share the same now. That now is the gift. That's the thing. We all came here for a reason, and it's to experience this right here, right now.
I love that. For somebody who's just starting on their spiritual path, do you have an easy way that they can differentiate between something that's guidance or spiritual insight and just wishful thinking or something that they're imagining? Or are they the same thing?
I love that. I love that. Um, I would say yes to the second thing and yes to the first thing. So typically in the beginning, if you recognize thoughts of how it's going to look in other people's eyes, how you appear to the world, and how what you're doing appears to the world, and you're considering that, you can tell that that's automatically ego, because only ego concerns itself with its image. That is the ego. The ego is the self image. It's how you appear both to the people that you know, to the world around you, but also to yourself. It's completely associated with image. Now, intuition is like instant noticing. There is no second guessing. And at first, it's hard to tell the difference of an impulse versus an intuitive pull or what have you. And to some degree, there really is no difference there, and it really is all the same thing. What we're learning here, what we're learning on the spiritual path, what we're learning on the intuitive path, is trust. Learning how to trust the information as it arrives. Like, I would surmise that anybody can see energy color, for instance. It's just we don't trust ourselves when our imagination brings up a color or an image or a symbol. And maybe you don't even see color, but maybe it comes to you in another way, like you see a geometric shape or a plant, or like a tree, or maybe you see an animal or a mythical creature. You see a dragon in someone, and you're just, so immediately the mind, the ego is going to be like, no, that's crazy. So the ego doubts. That's another thing. If the ego is coming in or cutting in, it's going to tell you that you're not good enough. It's going to tell you that what you're experiencing isn't real. But really, there is no real or unreal to everything you're experiencing. It's all one total thing, if that makes sense. There is this whole experience that's occurring. And as you open up your heart to trusting what you're experiencing and just let it go, you don't worry so much about whether or not you're right or wrong. Just go with it and see what unfolds. You will develop a relationship with your intuition, and it will bear fruit. You will experiencing amazing things, or you will look back and say, wow, look what happened because I followed my heart right then. I had a pull, I had an intuition, and I took a turn right then. And now I look, oh, there was a 5 car pileup on the road that I was going to take, but I took a turn because I got that feeling. So when the feeling comes, follow it, trust it, trust that you have a spirit, that you have guides, that you have somebody looking out for you. It could be your higher self. It could be whatever makes sense. It could be Jesus Christ. Could be whatever, however that suits you, whatever you feel comfortable with. And then ask for it too. Ask, speak out loud, write it down, whatever. Say it in your head. Say it when you have some quiet time. Ask for something, ask for a sign, and then don't invest yourself into some kind of expectation of what that's going to look like. Just be open. Be open to what that can be. And then when it comes, follow it. Follow that feeling. And then when you do, you create a connection. There's like a circle that's closed now. And now it's like, oh, that was my intuition guiding me. So the next time it comes, you'll feel it a little more. You'll recognize it. You'll be more familiar with this extra ability. People call it sixth sense. I call it the first sense. It's the sense that senses all other senses. It's before all of that. It's and go within, meditate, learn how to be quiet, because the intuition doesn't chatter like the mind does, like the ego does. That's all. It's got to sort through all the drama and everything of everyone else that's going on, and everyone's got a role to play, and all their relationships. That's all the drama, the chattering. The intuition, the heart doesn't chatter like that. It's quiet. It's right here in the moment. It's in the exact same place as the flickering of the leaves in the wind, or the dogs barking, or the way that you feel sitting in your chair. That's where the heart exists. It operates in a eternal space of no time. The mind is sorting time out. The mind is thinking about the past, thinking about the future, and trying to sort all that stuff out. So that's a way that you can begin to discern, is learn to be quiet and trust yourself.
And be in the moment.
Be in the moment.
Be in the moment. Easier said than done for those of us in our society today, with so much chatter and so much to see with our phones and our
Oh yeah.
social media, and that
Set timers. You can set screen times on these things. Put
that's a good idea.
20
Yeah,
minutes or something, or less, 5 minutes. I'm done with Facebook. I'm done with TikTok or whatever. And set it down. It's not really helping you. It's just providing distraction, providing entertainment, which is okay in small doses, but it can take over your mind, and it can shape the way that you think about yourself and the world. Before you know it, it's robbed you of your precious time. And as I was saying, that's your power. Is your time, is where your attention is. And if it's being locked into your phone, you got to unhinge from that. And you do that. If you do the practices, and whatever is comfortable to you, could be dance, could be doing yoga, or stretching in a quiet room, could be meditation, could be saying a mantra over and over again. You could say the Lord's Prayer over and over again. Whatever it is, whatever works for you, do that, and do it because it's nurturing your soul, and it's building a mind body connection and spirit connection. It's creating cohesion between the mind and the heart. Do it for those reasons, and you will become more compelled to do it. And as you put in those reps, you'll get stronger and better at it. And it'll be easier to find that clarity, that calm stillness. When you're sitting in traffic dealing with chaos all around you, you'll have your own little Zen space where you are completely untouchable.
great advice. Did you wanna see if there was anything that was gonna come in as a message for all
You
of
certainly
us
can if you'd like.
right here, right now?
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay, let
that'd be
me
great.
So I might twitch a little bit. I might shake a little bit. I never really know what's going to happen.
Okay.
My eyes will initially kind of be closed because it helps me find clarity. Also, I can see a little bit better. And then I'll gradually open my eyes. But yeah, let me just kind of tune in and quiet down and get into the moment. Let me just start by saying thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Not just to you, Julie, not just to your audience who's listening, but to the universe, to everything, to the light, to the sound waves, to the material world, to the non-physical, metaphysical world, to everything and all things, to all that is. I say thank you because thank you, gratitude, gratefulness is a transmuting ability that brings us into grace, that brings us into alignment. When we are grateful, we cannot suffer. When we are thankful, we attract abundance. So I say thank you. Thank you to me. Thank you to you. Thank you to all, over and over and over and over. Unlimited thank yous going out in every single direction possibly conceivable beyond what I can be aware of. I say thank you. I say thank you. I say thank you. And I hope that that suits you. So anything else?
No, that's pretty profound right there. Simple, yet actionable and profound.
Actionable.
So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah, fun. Are you cognizant when that's going on? Are you do you feel like your brain is put on pause and spirit speaking through you, or does it feel more like a meshing, or what's going on? What do you experience when you're channeling?
I feel an opening of my mind, no longer set on tracks of thought, but opening into several lanes of thought all at once, like kind of a backing up and looking across a field rather than being on a specific train of thought, like the thing that we were just talking about, whatever that
Yeah.
may be. And I could see the exits coming off of that one thought and kind of hold it there. But as I initiate into the space, into this limitless space in which I or you occupy, this eternal now, it opens up into like hovering over the lanes and seeing all the lanes and seeing that they're all going to the same place. They're all
Mhm.
going to this eternal now. And it's like, how do we get there? What's keeping us from there? What can we do to bring there right here? And it's funny that we should even ask the question because it's already here. It's already been here. It's all these diversions of thought that pull us away from it. Well, maybe I should be doing this, or maybe I should do this now, or I should change these things. It's okay to have those thoughts, but ultimately you're already there. Everybody's already there. So doing these actionable things, as you just said, gratitude, thankfulness, automatically brings you there. It automatically puts you there. It brings your heart right here. It brings your mind right here into balance, and it brings grace into your space. And then it flows outward. And so that right there is a spiritual practice. Just being grateful. Just putting your hands together like this is actual an energetic practice. You are putting together all of your meridians and your chakras, your hand chakras together into this cohesive pillar, if you will, this semblance of everything connecting in harmony. And I say thank you yet again to period everything that we've said all the way up to this point, and then stepping forth and approaching the rest of our day from that point. It's a miraculous and powerful thing.
I've never heard that about putting your hands together. I went through 12 years of Catholic schools, and when we were little, like kindergarten, 1st grade, we all folded our hands like this, and now, God, I haven't done that in a million years because I fold my hands with my fingers down, but when you talk about the meridians together and the every culture does that, the namaste, the all of that, that's the first time, Jeff, I've ever heard that about putting those meridians together, and I'm thinking, "Well, duh,
Yep.
yeah."
It's mechanical.
It's like yeah. And when I'm at mass and I see somebody with their hands full like that, I think, "Oh, they're extra holy because they hold their hands like that." Well, now I'm gonna do that. People think I'm holy, maybe, but I'm gonna yeah,
Do you? You
interesting.
do you. But yeah,
I
yeah,
love
it's
that. I love that. Oh my goodness. All right, last question. Why do we incarnate?
what else we're gonna do. I mean, this is the thing to do. This is the time to do it. So we're gonna do it. We do it to learn. We do it to love. We do it to suffer. We do it for the whole cacophony of the experience. We do it for all the reasons that you see everyone else going through what they're going through. But you define what you do and where you go. You define that. You're the one that gives your meaning to your life. It's the same for anyone listening. And I hope that should liberate you from what you've been stressing over. I hope that should grant you some power, a little bit of empowerment to recognize that it's okay. What's coming up next is completely up to you. You get to decide how to be, how to think, how to live. You really do, regardless of the situations as it look or what is going on with another person's life. They're not you. You're you. So that's why do you incarnate? What are you here to do? If you ask the question, you will find out. You will find out if you keep asking. And if you don't just make a conclusion and stick to that conclusion, then you're going to suffer over that conclusion and say, I've got, I'm here to suffer. Well, you can do that, but you don't have to just do that. You can learn from that. So if you can see that you're here to learn, then it will open up your imagination. It'll expand and open your mind to see other things, other angles on a problem, other angles on an issue, and see why it's really there. And it can then become an opportunity. And suddenly, if that's just a shift in definition, a problem for you is an opportunity for another person. So look at it from a new angle.
Yeah, wonderful. Wow, you're extraordinary.
Thank you so much.
You
Thank you
you
for having
have
me.
dropped a whole bunch of wisdom bombs
Thank
here
you. Thank you so
during
much.
this conversation. I'm gonna have to really take notes when I go back and I listen to this once we release
It's
it.
been my pleasure. You asked a fantastic questions. I mean, where you took it, you knew what I was thinking, and I had a blast talking to you. This is really cool.
Me too. My goodness. How can people learn more about you and your work?
Well, I have a YouTube channel, Spiritual Escape Artist. If you seek there, I have a website, spiritualescapeartist.com. Yeah, drop me a line. I have social media links all there. I have a TikTok too. Talk to me, comment, email. It's all they're all kind of bundled together, so it should be pretty easy to find me if you're interested.
All righty. You guys gonna want to take notes on this one because there are like I've never used the word wisdom bombs before, and I mean it in a positive way. But I was like, it's like those old fashioned smoke bombs. You drop them, and then all this smoke would come up in different colors. And
Oh
but
yeah, yeah.
I
I know what
haven't
you're talking about.
I haven't done that since I was about 10, so that was like
But
decades ago. But
4th of July is
still,
coming up. You got a chance.
there you go. Absolutely. Okay, everybody, sending you lots of love from Sweet Home,
Thank
Alabama,
you.
mwah, and from Idaho too, where Jeff is.
That's right.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks.
To enhance your spiritual journey, Click on one of the videos below and remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with your family and friends.